This segment is brought to you by Kansas Wheat. Learn more at rediscoverwheat.org.
Good morning and welcome to Farm Factor on Ag AM in Kansas. I'm your host, Conrad Cabus. A series of soybean schools were offered in February of 2015 to provide in-depth training targeted for Kansas soybean producers from Kansas State and other professionals giving workshops. It was sponsored primarily by the Kansas Soybean Commission and several entities with an interest in the soybean industry. There were also workshops on soil fertility and nutrient management.
Soybean School today, the topic that we cover was focusing on nutrient management, basically nutrient aspect of soybean production. And a few of the things that we've been hearing more questions from producers is related to the grain price and the cost of fertilizer and whether we need to be evaluating some of the fertility program. I think that's one of the main concerns this year. So we focus quite a bit on again, the value of soil testing in particular, which showed to be ultimately one of the main ways to try to be more efficient in nutrient management in general, especially for the main nutrients.
Kansas has the opportunity to have the biggest return in dollars from their fertilizer and micronutrient use. There are many long-term tests that farmers need to know about their fertilizers.
One of the things that we talk about today relates quite a bit again on terms of using the long-term history information basically for soil tests, especially for phosphorus, and how that information can help us to basically fine-tune or adjust the fertility management for soybeans. One thing that is important to keep in mind for soybean is that crop that can take up significant amount of nutrient per bushel of grain. So given a good yield environment, we can remove significant amount of nutrients. Another aspect also that we discussed quite a bit today focus on basically the timing of fertilizer applications for corn, especially in a corn-soybean type rotation. It's not uncommon for producers to put fertilizer before the corn and intended basically for the two crops. One of the concerns that I have sometimes is that soybean may be short of fertilizer in that kind of situations. And it's something that we always need to emphasize that if we're choosing to do a fertilizer application every couple years, we need to make sure and the requirements of soybean is covered when we are thinking about application rates. Another aspect that we covered today also focus on some studies that we've been doing, especially micronutrient management.
It's also important to remember that micronutrients affect crops and soil health as well, from sulfur to zinc. It's important to consider these critical pieces when producing soybean crops.
Another topic that we covered today focus on one of the studies that we've been doing the last couple of years, supported by the Soybean Commission, focusing on secondary micronutrient management for different soil types and different yield environments for soybean. So we finished with that study and we were looking at some of the data, and basically the take-home message from that study is that the potential response to some of those nutrients usually goes back to soil conditions, especially soil types in terms of texture, organic matter content, CEC, which seems to be, again, and pH in particular also in some environments, which tends to be the key factors to determine whether we'll see a response to those nutrients.
This hog is Hanover hoof for meal made from U.S. soybeans. Now, one hog isn't that impressive, but suppose we add another, and another, and another. Before long, you've got billions of hungry customers around the world all clamoring for the same thing. Our soybeans. Learn more about the billion-dollar appetite of animal agriculture at beyondtheelevator.com. Brought to you by America's soybean farmers and their checkoff.